Wow, it's an auspicious start to the stream. Sorry folks, OBS just died on me. I clicked start stream and OBS went poof, gone. It takes quite a while to restart, unfortunately. Hi, welcome. Just looks like a normal Wednesday stream. Coffee in hand. Welcome to the first Patreon exclusive private live stream. Yeah. Hey Ben, good morning. Holy moly. You set your alarm and you got out of bed. I'm impressed. Thank you. I feel quite privileged. Ben's an hour behind me. Is it an hour behind, I think? He's up in... You're in Queensland. Are you in Queensland or Perth? No, you're in Queensland. Townsville. Where's Townsville? No. Yeah. Whatever. It's a bad morning. But, yeah, so Ben's behind. So he's still in... Yeah, Queensland. Yeah, Townsville. 6:30am. And Ben is not a morning person. So I gave him a bit of shit the other day. I can swear, because this is private. It's not going to be monetized. Not private, unlisted. I gave him a bit of shit the other day about it, and so he set his alarm. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Hey, Graham, how you doing? So Crazy Roops, you just went to... Okay, I guess, yeah, from the UK, Paris for a day is not really a stretch. Actually, with the, was it the Euro track? What's the train called? You could probably get to Paris and back quicker than I can get to Sydney and back, which is pretty crazy. When I lived in London for just over a year back in 1995, 96, and yeah, Eurostar. I used to go, every weekend we'd get on the train and go somewhere. So like we'd go Paris or Belgium, or like if we were going that direction, or we'd just like get in a car and drive and, you know, drive up to Scotland or whatever. It was really cool. It was interesting having everything so close, where like in Australia everything's so far apart. You know, Sydney's only, I guess, 800 kilometres away, but to get there it's either like, you know, a 10 or 11 hour drive, or depending whether you break the speed limit or not. It's only a 40-minute flight, but it's like it's an hour and a half each end of the 40 minutes to, you know, get to the airport, get in, get on the plane, wait for it to go, and then land and get back out. Like it's just, yeah, it's a really... Yeah, we can do train. Like there are trains going to Sydney, but our trains, we don't have any Eurostars that go super fast. We've got super slow trains. So how's everyone doing? This is obviously just an experiment. I thought it'd be nice to, yeah, do a stream where we could all have a, you know, maybe a bit more of an intimate chat. By the way, I apologise. I woke up with some pretty bad hay fever this morning. So, yeah, my nose is bad. And I went for a run at 5:30 this morning. And, of course, didn't take any tissues with me on the run. And, yeah, let me just say, I don't know what the state of my face looked like while I was running. It was pretty bad. Anyway, yeah, you might be able to say I've got a bit of a red nose. The weather's been all over the place. Yeah, 2 hours to London. Paris to London's pretty cool. Hay fever. You think I've been snorting something? Let me tell you, if I've been snorting something, I'll tell you. Those days are long gone. Long, long gone. But I could do a line of speed right now. For sure. For sure. So, look, I don't know how many people are going to get today in the stream. I wasn't sure we were going to get any, to be honest. So I figured if we didn't get any, I'd just sit here and just talk to myself and just, I don't know, tinker. But yeah, like there's no set plan for this stream. I just thought I could make it open and we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. I mean, I thought of like, yeah, I mentioned in the post that it could be like an AMA, little mini AMA, but I'm pretty open and answer all questions anyway on my normal stream, so it's not like I think there's anything new or revolutionary I could, talk about. Although there might be some questions. I don't know. Hey, James. Good morning. So I mentioned on the post on Patreon that I was going to just invite some other people. I just posted it on our little maker group for if anyone wanted to join as well. Partly because I thought it'd be fun, and partly because I was scared that no one would turn up. So, I generally have a good turnout on my streams on Wednesdays, but this is a much smaller subset of the community. So, yeah. So I pushed that video out yesterday. I pushed it out earlier for those that have seen it or haven't watched it yet, which is fine. About the ESP32 UARTs. Hey, Alex. Good morning. That wasn't really scheduled to go out until either my Friday night or Monday. So I'd like to have a gap between when there's a video coming out and a stream coming out or whatever. I'd like to give it time for the stream to get some views. But yeah, the feedback I was getting and the comments I was getting back from the stream on Wednesday, I thought to myself, you know what, I'm just happy to not have that stream get a lot of eyes. There seemed to be quite a bit of confusion. Like there are people in the comments kind of trying to explain what PWM is to me. Clearly I didn't explain myself very well in that I understand what PWM is and how it works. I think I was trying to explain that I didn't understand not how the frequencies work, but specifically how do you know how to match the frequencies you're trying to match. So like in the case of an SSR, it's quite unique and probably, as many people said, PWM probably isn't necessarily the correct way of doing it, although I still believe it's a totally fine way of doing it, and I'm doing it and it's working. I'll talk about that in a sec. But it was more to the point of how do you, because I don't use PWM a lot, or I don't have applications where I need to be using PWM, it's hard for me to work out in my head what the frequency really plays into it. Like, not how do I set the frequency and what does the frequency do, but, unless you've done something, like, if I would have worked on a project where, this particular thing needs to be controlled by PWM and it needs to, be running at X megahertz, then that's fine. Like that's a clear, frequency is set at X megahertz and duty cycle controls on and off. But I've never worked on something that needed a specific frequency, and so it's hard for me to visualize in my head what those applications would be. That's all, right? That's what I was trying to explain, but I think it came across like I don't understand what PWM is or how it works. And so people have been explaining it to me in the comments, and I thought, oh, wow. And then there was like it was a really full-on, not bad, but really full-on chat like on Wednesday. Like I've never had to take so much time during a stream to actually stop and read and go through the comments, there was stacks of information in there, which is really great, but there was a lot of conflicting opinions as well. And there was lots of very strong opinions about, yes, it will work, no, it can't work, you shouldn't use it, you can use it. Like, it was just all, yeah. So, and I feel like at the end of it, I really didn't get a lot done in the stream, because like my plan for the stream was to actually implement it, as in to get it, like finish my code to control the SSR. And is Alex, was that you being funny? Were you going to explain to me how PWM works? Because that was the case, that was quite funny. And so like I feel like the stream ended up being kind of like a nothing. Like, it was a really great discussion, absolutely. Oh no, Alex is going to here we go. No, he's writing and removing. I'm happy for you to write whatever you want, Alex. Like, I appreciated everyone's input, don't get me wrong, and I always do. And I always appreciate everyone's comments. I just feel like the stream didn't go anywhere. So, the chat is not working like I expect. well, it is YouTube chat. It's pretty limited. Yeah, you don't have a lot of control. You can't format text or anything in it. So just type whatever you want to type. Just dump it if you want to. Yes, anyway. So I'm quite happy for the stream to kind of just disappear into the interweb. So that's why I pushed my video out early yesterday, and it's doing quite well actually. It's charting #1 out of all my 1 out of 10 out of my last range of videos, which is pretty depressing still because it's it's not like it's a broken out video that's going really crazy. PWM frequency too low, audible noise, PWM frequency too high, potential EVM problems. Well, I understand obviously high frequencies and low frequencies and what you're going to get in terms of potential problems around them. But it was more it's because I learned through. I don't learn through theory. I got to do stuff to learn stuff. That's much to my teacher's dismay. So until I've actually used an application where I need PWM at a very specific frequency to understand and understand why that item needs that frequency to function, it's just theory in my head. And when it's just theory in my head, it just doesn't... I understand it. I totally understand it, but it still doesn't connect. You know what I mean? I still can't... yeah. I can't think of an application where the frequency matters, but that's because I haven't used one. Right? Frequency for things like, controlling audio and stuff, or, okay, for driving motors, absolutely, whatever, I guess. Well, maybe not, I don't know. Do motor controllers really need to have, are they really frequency based? I guess it depends on the type of motor. There are people who respond to the slightest admission of not knowing something with splaining. Yeah, I get a lot of splaining on my channel, but that's okay. I got a lot of people who view stuff, right? And, there was a lot of new faces in the chat on Wednesday. I don't know whether they're new to the channel or, whether they've just spoken up for the first time, whether they've been lurking in the past. I don't know. I can never really tell. But there's always the chance that there are people who, join the channel or watch my videos that, are new and don't really know anything about me or my history or anything else. And so they, I'll make a comment or say something and they'll try to explain to me, which is fine. That's totally cool. Totally cool. If I had a problem with that, I wouldn't post stuff, right? I wouldn't on a stream turn around and try to explain that I don't understand why this stuff, what the implementation of that would be useful for, right? I wouldn't say that. I'd just go, yeah, I totally get it, I understand, yeah, all good. No one needs to tell me anything about PWM. That's not true. So, yeah. Well, you know what, James, the underlying truth is that even if smart people know a lot of stuff, there's only so much retention you can get in your brain at any one time, right? I don't know what I don't know, but I'm sure I've forgotten way more than I ever remember, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'll read something or someone will say something to me and I'll go, oh yeah, I knew that, wow. But you know what I mean? But without it being reminded to me, I'd forgotten that I knew it. That's just limited brain. The bit I really liked in that stream is you were asking the same question about mains and scopes that I had. Yeah, yeah. I have no idea if a scope is actually capable of connecting to mains without specific hardware, like a differential probe. I know about a differential probe. I don't have a differential probe, but I wasn't aware that was probably one of the only safest ways of measuring AC. Well, I'm sure there are other ways as well, and there were people who were, I was saying the whole, AC's, I don't want to touch AC, AC's dangerous, and people come back saying, AC is not dangerous, whatever. It's what you know. If you have knowledge on a topic, well then you have the tools that you need for things to not be dangerous, I guess. I think I make stuff you don't understand is way better than know stuff and don't make anything. Yeah, well, because I'm driven by learning, which is an interesting thing I've been thinking about recently, because I'm not doing enough learning at the moment. I feel like I'm not setting up. I feel like I've got really bad time management. Have had for a long time. We've got a list of things that I want to, get into and learn and try to understand, and for no other purpose than I want to learn them, which I guess is part of the problem. If I had a requirement for that knowledge, then it's much easier to get onto it to learn it. Like FPGAs, for instance. But yeah, my learning time's been really suffering. Not because I'm so busy doing other things, it's because I'm doing other things, and then in between I'm spinning my wheels because I can't kind of work out what I want to be doing, and there's too many things to choose from, so I do nothing. The procrastination. The safest way to measure AC is to hire a professional. Yeah. Well, look, I know I've done it in my videos, right? And I've said it before, like with my laser cutter and with the reflow oven I've got, the 29628. Like, there's no way I would have checked them to make sure they were wired correctly before plugging them in. Like, I got my friend Alan to come in, because I don't have any expertise in that space. So not only is it dangerous for me to play with, but it's also reckless for me to look at this stuff and go, yeah, I think that's going to be fine, and then plug it in to the mains. No, I just I know my own limitations on some things, like on things that I want to learn that aren't potentially harmful. I don't know my limitations. Like, I push myself, but on things that AC, yeah, no, not interested. I agree. Started my big project because I'd have to learn lots on the journey. Right, but you also had a goal in mind, like, you wanted to build a pipeline 8-bit computer, and you didn't necessarily know how, and there was lots of learning on the way, right? But if someone said to you, hey, why don't you just, read up about pipelined 8-bit computers, and you weren't intending to actually make one, you just want to do, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very different, it's really hard to, it's hard to stick out the journey of learning the stuff and even retaining it if you don't actually have an application for it. For me anyway, that's some people can just read textbooks and it all sinks in, and they become a fountain of knowledge, that they can reiterate, they can, what's the word? I was going to say spew. they can spew out knowledge and theory, but for me, I got to learn. I got to learn by doing. Also, just learning through projects. Yeah, learning for the sake of learning is hard, and I think regurgitate. That's the word. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Ben. What did I say? I can't remember what word I said. Well, that's the same as spewing, isn't it? Regurgitating and spewing, but spewing's got less letters, so less effort to say it. And it sounds more vulgar. Although regurgitate sounds pretty bad. Yeah, I was terrible at school and at uni. I never finished my course at uni. I was doing digital electronics, and I started it twice. Or digital robotics I was doing. I started it twice, did first year twice, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't work in that structure. You know what I mean? Like, all the practical work I did, and all the theory work, all the sitting there with all the maths and everything else, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit in a maths class and have a teacher draw a whole lot of hypothetical stuff on the board, right? And, I could sit there and write it down and copy it, but I wasn't understanding what I was writing, or I would understand it for the 5 minutes that I was writing it, because it was being explained to me while I was writing, but then it was gone, because there was no application for it. Like, like I mentioned on stream a little while ago, like doing integral calculus to work out, how capacitors are going to work over this and that, whatever. Like, really? Yeah. And that's why I just couldn't stick it out. And, my professors there just couldn't understand why I was excelling in the practical stuff and wasn't doing the other stuff. Like, I didn't even turn up to the lectures, because there was no point. You made it for 2 years. Yeah. I couldn't even do 2 years. Well, I did 2 years. I did it the same year twice. You know, like one of the classes was, you know, coding. I think at that time, what were we using? I think we were using Pascal. We were doing both. We were learning Pascal, but there was a bit of C as well. And like I remember, like we were given, like every practical we were given in the coding side, I just went crazy. Like, so like one of the very first practicals we were given, the assignments we were given is you had to just write a really simple menu that you know, like a database, but without a database, right? It was just, you could put some names, it's like a list, like a to-do list, but it was for names, right? Names and phone numbers. So I remember that was the task, and like we were given 3 weeks or something to do it. And like I came back the next class, so it was once a week, and I had written a complete address book with a GUI, like not text-based, graphical, with mouse control, full mouse control. So you could click on names and you could double click on them and pop up and edit them. And this is obviously, you know, I mean, Windows was around and stuff back then, but it was, you know, I wrote it from scratch, right? My own graphics routines and everything else, and like I presented it. Well, it wasn't a lecture. It was what are they called? What are the people that are doing their? Can't remember at uni. The ones that have already finished their degree and they might be studying for their masters or whatever, and so they help out doing other. Ben will know because he just finished his course. So they take a lot of the classes for the professors. I can't remember what their names are, what they're called. No, not assistants. They've got a name. They're might come to me, it might not. Anyway, so this person, he was just like blown away. Like, what have you done? She shouted to the professor. That's the level of stuff I would do in my practicals for coding, but I wouldn't turn up to my maths classes. Have you at least got a good grade for your effort? No, because I didn't finish the course. I failed. Like, I dropped out. I didn't fail. I dropped out. Like, I didn't even do I think the first time I did my interview exams and I failed the year. Like, I got, you know, I got a high distinction in programming. I think I got a distinction in the digital electronics side. Postgraduates, thank you. Thanks, Crazy Roops. And then I failed. Like, I failed maths and I failed the physics subjects, and so all the electronics, the digital side I passed. Anything was analog, failed. Like, I'm pretty sure on my maths paper I might have answered, like if there were 20 questions, I might have answered 3, and I'm pretty sure I got 2 of them wrong. Because I didn't study. Like, it was, hey John, 41 hours of travel just to get to my stream. No. Where have you been travelling from, John? Wow, that's a long time to travel. My record's 39 hours, and it almost killed me. It was terrible. Hey Chris, good morning. For those that are just joining, we're just chatting about my failed university experience twice. Yeah. Like, do you know how embarrassing it is to sit in a lecture? To sit in an exam that goes for, like, I think it was an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes maths exam, and all I could do was potentially answer 3 questions, of which, as I said, I reckon 2 I got wrong. I don't even know what my grades were. I never even went back to find out. Like, I just left the course. London to Georgetown in the Bahamas. Sorry to hear, John. So sorry, mate. Really sorry. So, I'm glad that you mentioned that before I asked you if you had a good trip. Have to fly across the Atlantic week after next. Not looking forward to it. Yeah, it's just long trips. Really long. And then if you get a flight that's got too many stopovers, it's just really wrecks it. Like, whenever I fly, I try to go direct if I can. I hate having to leave Melbourne and, like, fly to Sydney to go somewhere else, or coming back through to stop in Sydney to come back through. It just wrecks, you know. Like, it only adds a couple of hours, but I want it done. And, like, if I'm going You know, like usually, or back in the olden days, I don't know, whatever, 10 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, like flying to the States, you still had to almost have a stop, depending on where you're flying to. Like now, you know, if you're going to, depending on where you're going to, you might have to stop in LA before you go across, whatever. But you had to like stop in other places along the way. They can do much longer flights now. Like they can, you know, much more efficient with their fuel and stuff. So they can do longer flights, so less stopping. The stopping just terrible. Yeah, really sorry, mate. How old was your dad, John? Did he have a good innings? That might be just an Aussie and a UK saying, I think, because innings is from cricket. So if you don't know what cricket is, generally, just to explain to everyone else, so an innings is in cricket is how long one side is in for before they're all out, and so a good innings means you're in there for a long time. So John just wrote great innings, 88. I'm up. Wow, that's pretty good. 88. Still too young though. Okay. I hope you went peacefully, and I hope the family's all okay. I used to love maths. In high school I got 98% in my final exam just because I accidentally skipped a question. Whoops. Uni level maths was interesting, but I haven't used it since. You've forgotten it. See, I'm the other way around, where, you know, I did the whole whinging to my parents, why do I have to do maths? When am I ever going to need it? When am I ever going to need Pythagoras' theorem? When am I ever going to need blah, 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 right? And then for a very long period of time in my life I didn't, until I got into game dev. And then it was like, wow, I wish I remembered my trig. Like, it could be really helpful, you know, in my matrices and stuff. So, yeah. Like, looking back now, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, looking back, I can say I wish I spent more time learning, or I concentrated more. But the truth is, it wouldn't have made any difference because of the way I learn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hindsight, in this case, it's, no, I gotta be realistic, and, you know, I wish I had more knowledge now, but I don't think I could have changed much when I was at school. So, Pythag, very frequently. Exactly, but you didn't know that back in school. Back in school, maths was kind of all, other than people like Ben who loved it and thrived in it, like maths was like this, one of the compulsory subjects, the non-elective subjects that you had to do, right? Like English. So, yeah, and sciences up until a certain point. So for me, maths was just a burden back then, as I said, anyway. So I got something really cool the other day I bought myself. I'm going to show you guys. I haven't opened it yet. I want to make a video about it. I was going to do it on a stream, but actually I want to do it as a video. So I've not even opened it, and I don't really want to open it now, just letting you know, because I want to do it all on video. But I got myself a Hyperpixel 4 or 4-inch. For those that don't know what this is, it's an LCD screen, color screen, or a TFT, whatever it is. But it's 720 by 720, but it's only 4 inches, so it's quite densely packed pixels. And you can plug a Raspberry Pi Zero directly on the back, like directly into it, or you can, let me just get hang on, I'll bring up the website for it. And it's really bizarre, the reason why I got it. Let's just, Moroni. Oh, I just realized I'm not sharing my screen. Let me just switch. Was that same with matrices and vectors? Never learnt that stuff properly at school. Well, vectors kind of stuck with me. I found vectors quite easy. That makes sense, because I've always been into the 3D space. Like, I had a animation company for a long time, so vectors were just fundamental to do with designing in 3D. I'll show you in a sec. I'm just going to switch screens. Here we go. So I've got to find it. Here it is. So it's also touch. So it's a touch screen, and it's not cheap, although interesting. So £58. I don't know what that is in. What's £58? How would I write pounds? I can just write pounds. Call it 59. Will it show me in AUD? No, whatever. Okay, doesn't matter. So yeah, I paid I think $120 for this. It was it wasn't cheap. Oh, GBP, of course. Thank you. GBP 59 is 113. Yeah, I paid $119 for it. So that's about right. That's pretty good. So uniquely square, high resolution, high speed, 4-inch display, 18-bit color, 720 by 720 pixels, 254 ppi, which is pretty amazing, right? Really large viewing angle, which, yeah. Optional capacitive touchscreen. So it's got a 40-pin header. I don't think it's using SPI. I think it's using... It's not using the HDMI connector. I think it's whatever it's doing. It's bit banging or something directly through the headers. I think. I might be totally wrong. I don't know. I'm reading to see if it says. Anyway, it looks really cool, right? Touchscreen. Oh, okay, it's got a DPI interface. I'm not sure what DPI interface means. Does anyone know what a DPI is? So the Zero has only the one. What is it? This is MIPI and MIFI. What are the two different? Or MIPI and whatever the two are. The Zero's got the camera interface, but not the other interface. I don't believe. I don't think so. Let me go grab a Zero. I'll tell you. So I've actually got two Zeros now because I took my Zero out of my Prusa and I'm running my 3B Plus there. Right, that one's got headers on it, which is probably perfect. Yeah, it's only got the camera port. This is not going to be very bright, I don't think. Let me just zoom in and focus. I still haven't worked out how to turn this off, the zoom. It's really useful when I'm recording video, but it's really bad on a stream. And when that switches off, I can make it brighter. There we go. Yeah, so it's got the camera over here. I don't know which one that is. There's two. What are the different names? Okay, so DPI is a parallel display, right? That's why it's super fast. Yeah, so it's pretty much, it's going to be chewing up pretty much all the GPIO on the Zero. Now the Zero is really slow. Like it's not a fast Raspberry Pi, but I think it's going to be okay for what I want to use this for. So what happened was I was buying some stuff from Core Electronics, and the postage, the shipping was more expensive than the parts I was buying, right? And it was whatever. So I thought, you know what, I'll take the opportunity. If I'm going to spend this much money on shipping, which is not a lot, it was only like $10. If I'm going to spend $10 on shipping, what else have they got there that I need or would like? And there was nothing, right? I've got everything I need. You know, basically I was buying from them a cable, a Raspberry Pi extension cable for the headers, which I didn't end up using after that. And one of the really tall headers, the Adafruit headers, just for my for the Pi 4 for my next test jig for the Pro S2. Anyway, so I was looking through, and there was nothing there I really needed. And then the Hyperpixel came up, and I was really interested when it was first announced, but I didn't get one. But then I thought to myself, actually, you know what? There's something I really want to make with this. I wasn't really needing the touch, but the only one they had was touch. Although, like, touch for the application I want to use this for, touch is going to be a problem because it's going to be out of reach for me. But so I keep to-do lists. I try to keep to-do lists of stuff I need to get done, right? Because I've got a lot of things I'm juggling, right? So not just lists of videos I want to make or I'm currently making and things I need to do for the videos, projects I'm currently working on, ideas for projects that I want to work on, lists of people that I need to get back to about stuff or whatever. Like I've just got lists and lists and lists, and I kind of break it up into, I've got like urgent lists, and I've got, you know, short-term, mid-term, long-term lists, and I've got video ideas lists, whatever, right? Hey Pierre, Hyperpixel, is that a pixel on a sugar high? No, it's so that, yeah, the Hyperpixel is it's a 720 by 720 pixel resolution screen that runs parallel display, so bit banging in parallel off the a Raspberry Pi, and it's got a touch interface, so it's a really high res, really beautiful, vivid looking display. Anyway, so what I wanted to do was, because my to-do list, like, it's on my phone, it's on my computer, whatever, but I need to go to it, whatever, I need to remember to open it, to look in it, to see what I'm supposed to be doing, right? List management, terrible. So I thought what I'd do is, my original idea was to grab like an old tablet or something and just stick it on my wall. Kind of, you know the Raspberry Pi mirror things that people do where, you know, you've got the computer screen behind a mirror and you can, you know, display your calendar or whatever on there, right? Well, I didn't want to do that, and I didn't particularly want to just put a screen somewhere, but I like the idea of running a Raspberry Pi and running some of that software. You know, there's quite a few versions out there now so basically just to show me what I'm supposed to be working on, like to show like a couple of columns of lists and maybe the calendar for today, right? So I thought about just sticking you know, I've got some old iPads, I've got some, you know, Android tablets and stuff, obviously from when I was at game dev, a lot of hardware. I've got a lot of hardware that sits in a drawer. So I thought about doing that, but I didn't want to do anything like on iOS, and I didn't want to be running Android or whatever. I really want to do it on a Pi. And so I thought about getting like I was looking around actually for you know, maybe like a 10-inch screen for a Raspberry Pi that plugs into HDMI or something. But then, yeah, then I saw the Hyperpixel and I thought, you know what, this is really, really small and really nice. So it's probably too small to stick on my wall in front of me. So my wall's about a meter away. It's not too far, but I think this might be a little bit small. But with the Pi Zero in it, I could actually put this next to my computer. Like, it could be sitting like a, you know, like a photo frame next to me, or much closer, and it could just be dynamically updating a to-do cube. Yeah, something like that. Not a cube though, but you know what I mean? And the fact that it's touch, assuming that I can find some software, and I could always write my own in Python, but like some software where I can manage the to-do list on it, I thought it might be nice and cool, you know? So whatever, it was a lot of money, it was pretty extravagant, but I bought this, and then the next morning I got notified that Palmeroni were stocking Tiny Picos. So I thought, wow, okay. Was that serendipitous? I think that's the word. Maybe if I wouldn't have bought this, they wouldn't have... No, it doesn't work that way, because they would have ordered them weeks ago. But you know what I mean? I felt better about buying it and supporting them because of it. A touch to-do list. Yes. Well, or not touch. I don't know if I can't... I just want an overview. I want something constantly there to remind me what I'm supposed to be doing, because I need something there to remind me to be looking at what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, there's no point. I used to joke with Yaz, like, she used to get really annoyed with me that I didn't put stuff in the diary. And I understand that me putting stuff in the diary for me is good for her, because she gets to know, like, she's got a record of what I'm doing or whatever. But I never put stuff in a diary for me. I never kept a diary, because my issue was I never looked at a diary. What's the point of putting something in a diary if you don't look? What's the point of writing notes at school in an exercise book if you never open the exercise book until the next class to write the next notes, right? It's the same thing. My brain doesn't work that way. It's an artificial Yuz. Don't say that. Anyway, it was an extravagant purchase. I'm really looking forward to playing with it, and I'm doing my best to save it for a video, but because I don't know how to use it and I need to experiment with it, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it as a video or not. Like I'm not sure I want to make this a video of me fumbling trying to work out how to use it, as opposed to, hey, here's a project idea I've got, these are the parts I'm using, and at the end here's the thing, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm excited to play with it. It's been sitting on my desk here for 2 weeks now. Yeah, or however long it's been. So, does anything anyone want to talk about? Or do you want me to just keep mentioning stuff, whatever? I mentioned to Ben yesterday, so I spent some time yesterday. I've got my Reflow Master Pro connected to my oven over there. You can't really see. Actually, there's really nothing to see except what I will do. I'll share a picture with you guys. So I was trying to find a second oven. I just need to send myself this picture so I can show you on the screen. I was trying to get myself a second oven so I didn't have to pull my Reflow Master apart, my current Reflow Master. 1, because I use it. 2, because hello? I'd like to send myself a picture, please. Sometimes AirDrop just does not. There we go. So I use my Reflow Master in my oven, and I also use it for development, right? And I've got a branch of my Reflow Master software very early that I'm changing quite a lot inside it. I'm changing the algorithm a lot to make it work more like what I'm doing in my Python side right now. Use Google Keep something. Use Google Keep and scrape it off with a tiny picker or a pie. I'm not sure what you mean by keep, but well, so yeah, we use, obviously we're an Apple house, so we're using Apple calendars and to-do lists and stuff, but all of those I can access through iCloud, so I could definitely do that from the Pi. That's not a problem. I wouldn't need to scrape it with a tiny pico because I can do that from the Pi. It's a Pi 0W, so it's got Wi-Fi. Google Keep is a notes app, and they support checklists that you can use. Okay, cool. I just the only reason I would move to something like that is if I couldn't get it talking and working properly with all the Apple Suite stuff. Can you use a barrel adapter on the side of the oven to connect the oven SSR to the Reflow? A barrel jack adapter would make it easier to swap. No, because it's not just the SSR. I've got a fan that I'm controlling on there, and I've got my thermocouple on there, and you can't really, once you start putting connectors between the thermocouple and start introducing incorrect metal, because the thermocouple is all about the metal types. For a K-type, they're 2 particular types of metal. Once you start doing that, you completely deteriorate the accuracy of your thermocouple. So thermocouple's got to be wired directly to the Reflow Master. I've got some of it's modular, it's pluggable, but it's still, well, I'll explain what the problem is. It's much harder than that, because my Reflow Master's 1 fan, 1 thermocouple, right? And the relay. My Reflow Master Pro is 2 fans and 2 thermocouples. So I need to either start drilling more holes and attach more stuff to this particular oven to be able to test all of my Reflow Master Pro, which then means that I've got an oven that's got extra holes in it and stuff, or I get myself a second oven. And I've been looking for a second oven and I can't find one. I really wanted the same oven because I wanted to do like for like comparison, but this oven's not available anymore, and the only place I found one is in South Australia at it's called Cash Converters. It's like a second-hand trading type shop, but they're a chain, but they won't sell it to me. They won't ship it. Like, it's only $20. Like, I don't care if I pay $50 for them to ship it, they won't ship it to me. And I can't find that oven anywhere else. And I found some other ovens that are kind of okay, but yeah. There are special thermocouple connectors with the right materials, but they are pricey. I've actually got some double adapters here. and I've got proper thermocouple extension cable. So I could potentially do that, but I need to do it for 2 of them, right? And I need to change where the thermocouples are, because for a 2 thermocouple setup, I don't want the thermocouple where my current one is, but for my single reflow, like for the reflow master, I want the thermocouple there. So it's much trickier than that. But for now, what I've done, let me just find this picture and show you. I will show you. I mean, there's not really a lot to see. Hide. Sorry. So here's a picture. So I've had to move my oven because the cables wouldn't reach, and so that's the SSR over here on the side. Thermocouple's connected directly in there. So I'm using just 1 thermocouple right now. Got a friend in SA want me to inquire. I know someone in South Australia as well. I mean, worst case scenario, that I can get them to grab it and send it to me, I guess. It was really a timing thing. Like, I was doing this yesterday, and I want to get. I'll explain where I'm up to first. So I've got it. I'm using PWM, right? And I've got it now controlling the fan, turning the fan on and off when it needs to in the cycle. I've got it hitting the SSR during warm up and during reflow. The only thing I haven't implemented right now is the actual algorithm, like the function. Everything I need is there for it. Like, so when you pick your reflow graph to reflow, because I've got so much RAM on this, because it's the Tiny Pico, it's a Nano, it's got the extra PS RAM. I've basically got 4 meg of memory, so I can put as much in memory as I want, unlike the Reflow Master, which is the SAMD, which is limited in how much RAM I've got. So it pre-processes. On the Reflow Master, it goes through and calculates everything it needs for the algorithm real time every second, or it does it sub-seconds, because I don't have the memory to actually store and pre-cache large arrays of every step, what all the deltas and stuff are. So, but I can with in Python with the Reflow Master Pro. So I've pre-cached everything. So where it does a look ahead and works out not just what temperature it's supposed to be, but what the delta is, like if it's going up and down and how much it's going up, like a magnitude. All of that's pre-cached, right? I can just say, give me the temperature and magnitude of the movement at any second, and it just gives me the value back. I don't have to calculate it real time. Which, on an ESP32, I could do it real time, and it's not going to tax the CPU core at all. But having it pre-cached means I can visualize it, right? Like I can draw it on the graph and stuff like that. So all the data is there, all the functions to get all that data is there. The only thing I don't have implemented right now, because I want to rethink how I did it compared to the Reflow Master, is like right now it ticks per second, it goes through, it draws the graph of where it's at, it knows where it's supposed to be going. It's how I'm going to actually use that data now to control the reflow. Because I have an idea that might allow me to remove the look ahead, potentially. It still might be needed, like I explained on the stream the other day, because it's the only tuning bit that you would need for different capabilities of different ovens. Whether the oven doesn't have enough wattage or doesn't have enough elements or whatever, right? But I'd like to see, like it'll use the look ahead, but right now I'm going to keep the look ahead at 0 or maybe at 1, so it looks at the next step. And I want to see just how well it runs first. So my plan was to do that today, and I can't do that if I go out and get a new oven, right? Because even if I had a new oven in my hands today, I'm going to have to cut it all apart, right? Rewire it. I've got a spare SSR, sure. I'm going to have to get the thermocouples in there. I'd end up spending my day hacking the oven and not working on the code, if that makes sense. So yeah, I did this yesterday. and it's working great. I've been cleaning up the code as I'm going, and I had to, because there's only the one thermocouple, I had to put a whole lot of cases in there for not just being able to turn the thermocouple on and off, but it needs to understand whether there's an error on the thermocouple and not prevent you from reflowing. So in the case of TC2, it's not connected right now, and it, in the settings I can say don't use it, and so it just doesn't try. But if the settings said use it, but it wasn't connected, that's a problem, and that would actually halt the system. I don't want it to halt the system. What it'll do now is actually show an error of what the error is, but it'll still let you reflow with the one thermocouple. Because I think that's reasonable to allow that to happen. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I've been putting this part off for quite a while, and I'm not sure why. I've done a tremendous amount of code for the Reflow Master Pro, but this is the last element. Once it's reflowing, the rest is all new features. The rest is all enhancements to the system, right? The core's got to be working. I've spent so much time writing graphics libraries and doing all the UI and everything else, and the bit it needs, the most important bit, which is the reflowing, I've been spinning my wheels on. With your oven test, could you test the temp increase rate at each C and have that information to help with the control algorithm? So that's what I do with the Reflow Master, the non-pro, my current one. I don't force people to do it, but it's called Test Oven, and when you run it, it'll go through and it'll tell you how fast it can ramp, how fast it can increase temperature, and how fast it decreases temperature on its own, and gives you an idea of what temperature paste you'll be able to reflow in there, right? So it'll come back saying something like, I can't remember exactly, but you should be able to do low temp paste reflow, but you can't cool down fast enough. You're going to have to potentially add a fan, or it might tell you, okay, this oven's capable of doing 183 type thing. But that in itself probably isn't enough to have it automatically set that look ahead value. Well, maybe it will. I'd still have to expose it so people can tweak it. The problem is, again, like I said on my stream on Wednesdays, I don't have ovens to test it on, right? My oven failed, didn't see all of that. What do you mean by it failed? As in it wouldn't get up to temperature at all? I'm not sure what you mean by failed. Did it come back saying not fast enough? Okay. Really? Okay. What size and wattage is your oven? Do you know? How many liters and how many watts is it? And how many elements? See, reflow is an interesting thing because your oven might not be fast enough or powerful enough. It doesn't mean that it won't reflow your boards, right? I definitely wouldn't reflow production boards in it, but if you're just prototyping, you still might find that it'll reflow. Or what you can do is go in, change the reflow graph and make it run longer. So I've got my reflow graph for my low temp paste, but I've also got another one, it's exactly the same, but it's longer, and I've just got low temp L for longer. And so what I'll do, for instance, if it's depending on what color the PCB is or how many PCBs I'm putting in the oven, sometimes I'll run the longer one, which runs for an extra 30 seconds, which is not a lot. But that extra 30 seconds gives it more time to get the thermals up in the pre-soak. And I also do the reflow before it drops. I've increased that for 10 or 15 seconds. So that the profile's out of scope to the paste. But at the end of the day, I don't use that for production boards, but if I'm just prototyping something and I know that the thermal mass inside the oven is going to be too much for the oven to cope with, I'll use the longer reflow, and it still works fine, right? So 1500 watts is pretty good. 1500 watts is more than mine. Mine's only 1300 watts. and it's 16 liters, which is pretty much the, you know, it's borderline. Like, I can just do 183 degree reflow. Like, 183 degree reflow has to get up to about 220 degrees at the peak at the end, and like my toaster goes up to 230 theoretically, like, but it can't get to 230 in time. 16 litre, yeah, it is very big, sure, but it's 4 elements, 1300 watt, and I 90% of the time work with low temp paste, which is fine. The problem is when you go down to like a 9 litre oven, you go down to 2 elements on most of them, and 2 elements isn't enough. And 2 elements means that you don't get, because they're a small oven and the elements are normally in the middle, what you do is you get too much heat in the center and not enough on the sides because of how close they are, right? So what you end up doing is having the potential of scorching your boards, because you get, like, even though it's not IR, it's not directional, you still have a much hotter section too close to your boards in the middle. Does that make sense? So look, I found plenty of ovens I could have picked up yesterday that are you know, cheap, 9 litre, but they're only 2 elements, and I don't want that. So the thing with a 4 element oven is the elements are on the corners, and you have heat coming into the center, but you don't have direct heat on top or on bottom, which for like a black PCB is really important. You don't want that, and that's why people melt their boards in the T962A, is because not just because it's IR and it's like really intense heat, like it doesn't spread like a normal element does, but they're really close, and they're like, you know, yeah, you just get scorching from them. Yeah, reflow controllers, like, fundamentally, it's not necessarily a hard thing to make, but controlling a toaster and doing it reliably sounds like it's easy, but it's not if you want to make a product that can work on any toaster. Making a product that works on one particular toaster, super easy, right? But making it work on any toaster fairly reliably, that's harder. I've had it where the FR4 from JLC comes out floppy. Floppy? Really? Yeah, I get boards that are slightly, I get boards delivered slightly bent, unfortunately, the way they package them. But yeah, like, I've had that as well, for sure. Like, I've had I've had Tiny Pico. I'm just going to switch back. Like, I've got panels, Tiny Pico panels that, you know, after I reflow the RAM, which is the RAM's high temp paste, like really high, like, you know, it ramps up to 260 degrees. When they come out of the oven, the boards are warped, are slightly warped, not melt or anything, but they warp at the V-scores because they're thinner. So basically, when they cool down enough, I stack them all and put a weight on top of them. And so all of my boards that have RAM on them before they go onto the pick and place to do the top side live under a pile of you know, weighted something, some books and stuff. I'm just trying to think books and boxes and stuff to, yeah. And then when I take them to use them, they're flat, they're fine. The days of manually changing the oven, doing it with the torch in the oven. I did that plenty of times, let me tell you. I never wrecked a board. I had to reflow some boards again. Never burnt a board or anything. I always erred on the side of caution. But yeah, I learned that trick from Sean Hodgkins. That was really good. So yeah, that's why I haven't run out to get another oven yet, because if I run out to get another oven, I'm just going to procrastinate. Like, it's a procrastination thing to prevent me from finishing this bit of code. Once this bit of code is working, I'm pointing at the picture that you can't see. Once this bit of code is working with one fan and one thermocouple, it's going to work perfectly fine with 2 fans and 2 thermocouples, right? Like, it's the algorithm doesn't change at all. You know, an extra thermocouple doesn't make the oven work better. It just gives me potentially more accurate temperature readings, because I can sample from 2 places. Having a second fan, like, is an interesting thing, because I've been trying to work out where I'd put a second fan on an oven like this. So my fans blow in, or my current fan blows in, so it pushes cool air in. Still requires the door to be open because you can't really get around that. The only way to get around that would be if one fan pushed in and the second fan pulled out, and you could technically move all the hot air out and not have to open the door. So a couple of problems with that. The first one is you're pushing out all of the solder fumes, the flux fumes and stuff, just into the air in the office, which is not great. But that's really no different to opening the door, right? But the other problem is I don't have space on the left-hand side over here to stick a cavity, like to stick something. Like I'm gonna have to build some type of piping system on the outside in metal as an extraction system, but there's no way of really blocking that during reflow and not get leakage. So when I added this first one for the fan, I got a very measurable drop in inner temperature when I was reflowing because there was place for the heat to escape, right? There's not enough heat coming through to damage the fan at the back, although I'm sure I've really dramatically reduced its lifetime because of the heat. But adding a second hole is just going to, again, drop it again. And for low temp paste for this oven, not really a problem. But, occasionally I do reflow 183 or 187 degrees in here. Very rarely, but I do. And it's borderline able to do that now. I don't think I'd be able to do that if I cut another hole in it. So I've been trying to work out what I do about a second fan. But it doesn't have to be a fan. Like the second thing, like it's basically just a connection that's run off a transistor, right? So maybe some type of solenoid to open the door. But yeah, I don't know. The oven outside gets quite hot, so whatever I do has to be like it can't melt. Like I can't just print 3D printed stuff and stick it on the side. Like I'd have to do some metal work or something to do that. Something that's not flammable or meltable, I guess. But remember, like I do all my production boards now in my T962A. I pretty much just use the oven for doing prototyping work, or pretty much just prototyping now. I've tuned my T962A enough that I can reflow anything in it now. Everything from low temp paste all the way up to my SAC 305, which is really high reflow temperature, and I can do that on any color PCB without burning the boards. And I've only got a small area I can use. Like I can't use the whole tray just because of the unevenness of the elements, but the way they're positioned. But yeah, it's 100% reliable for my reflowing now. It's taken me a long time to tweak it. Okay, so anyway, that's where I'm up. So I'm pretty excited that I'm back on getting this done. It's probably 80%, 85% there compared to what the ReflowMaster 1 does, like in terms of capability, like and code. And then comes all the fun stuff like adding a web server and doing all that other things to allow people to create their own profiles and stuff. That's again a lot of work to do. A lot more opportunity to procrastinate. So there you go. Sorry, that was a bit of a about the oven, about reflow. My parts system, my parts software, dead in the water right now. I've got no enthusiasm to work on it at the moment. I did what I feared I was going to do, and I made it. I went down a direction with it, functionality-wise, that was good for having a product out there for people, but made it something that I didn't particularly want to use. You know what I mean? So, I've got a whole bunch of data in there, but I don't have all of my data in there. I stopped putting stuff into it. I don't know. I feel like, I think part of it is I feel, because I don't feel like I want to work on it right now. I also feel like I don't want to see what state it's in, so I don't use it. Not that I've been buying a lot of parts, or new parts anyway. And at this stage, with what's happening over in China, I might not even get my next order from LCSC, which is a shame. I've got PCBs at JLC PCB that are kind of stuck now, and I've got a kind of a large order at LCSC that's kind of stuck that I don't know when any of them are coming. I know that feels. My keyboard firmware after his long list of do's. Yeah, it's tough when the list of things to do is larger than what you've done and the motivation's low, or the excitement's low. It's just really hard to push through that. Or I find it's quite hard to push through it because I definitely don't enjoy doing web coding. Yeah, look, I'll get back onto it. I will. I promised myself I will, but I also promised myself that I'm going to not beat myself up about things. Like if I don't feel like working on something for however long that takes, that I feel that way, I'm not going to beat myself up on it. I'm just whatever. I'll get to it when I get to it. And in the meantime, I'll find other things to work on. So, and there's no shortage of those at the moment. So, is there? That's just a quick update. Anyone have anything they want to talk about, or ask, or know, or crew me on? How did the kids go at the new school? Really well. They had a fantastic first day. Yaz and I were quite shocked. They really, every day so far. Well, it's only been 2. It's only a 3-day week this week for the first week back. But like even yesterday, yeah, really good. Beyond our expectations. Fantastic. Very happy. It's a very big relief for Yaz and I because we just didn't know what was going to happen. We expected a complete, at least from Flynn, a complete meltdown and shutdown. But nah, he had a great time, made some friends, felt really accepted, came home quite excited and positive. So yeah, let's hope that it continues. Yeah, really good. I mean, the jury's out about how good the school is, right, from an educational point of view. Don't know, because it's too early to tell. But, like in terms of them just moving in and feeling comfortable there, yeah, really good. Very happy. So my Pro S2 obviously is kind of stalled until I get silicon. And although there was chatter recently, and especially was showing pictures of production, I think they were rover boards, S2 rover boards. They weren't production boards. They were proof of concept of production from using silicon that is not the right silicon, right? It was a proof of production. Proof of production? A POP. So they were not production boards at all, and they are not ready for production boards yet. And between you and me and anyone else that's listening, the people that need silicon, the people internally at Espressive that need silicon right now to be able to even work on software for it, like IDF, don't have silicon yet. So yeah. So the Pro S2 is kind of stalled. I've got what I think is my final design. I've not built one. It doesn't make any sense to build one. I've obviously done my first part of tuning through the VNA. But it doesn't make any sense for me to send them off to get them completely tuned, like RF, like get them matched properly yet, because I don't even know, I don't even know how much the chips are. I don't even know what my final BOM cost is. I don't even know, I'd like to make a crowd supply campaign around it, but I don't know if I'm even going to yet. I don't even know what the value proposition of it's going to be. And so it's the same with the Feather version. So for those of you that saw on a couple of Patreon videos ago, I think a couple of weeks ago, I showed off the my Feather version of the board, which I've got one board. I haven't built one again because there's no point. I haven't even matched this one because I've decided to make some changes on it anyway. So I left one thing off that I probably shouldn't have, and that was the ability to turn off the APA. So I added that back on, and I ended up adding that back on by adding the second LDO, even though I wasn't going to. So now the Feather version has the 2 LDOs like the Pro S2, and I got rid of the jumpers for the VBAT, like allowing for a switch on the battery, because it's I don't know. It sounds like a really cool thing, but I've got another idea for that. I've got a different product I'm working on. Oh, that I can tell you. But you have to, it's top secret, you have to be very quiet. Anyway, I'll tell you in a sec. So, I'm kind of torn. I don't know what I want to do with the Pro S2 or the Feather. I don't think it makes sense for me to do 2 boards. Even though they're pretty much identical, almost identical in terms of components on them. So, the only cost differentiation is going to be that, different PCBs, but also, splitting the user base, right? I mean, the Feather's a pretty big ecosystem, and I think it makes sense. Like, I could be the first. I could be shipping the first ESP32 board in Feather format that can run CircuitPython, for instance, right? I'm sure Adafruit are going to release a board at some point, but maybe they won't need to, or maybe, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure I can be first to market on that. And because once the USB, like, I know what the USB stack is going to be. I don't think I'm allowed to say. Sorry. And so I know that, yeah, CircuitPython should be a no-brainer on it, and even MicroPython is going to happen on it, but it's going to be a bit harder. So I don't know if I should be doing 2 boards or not. I don't know whether it's worth doing a campaign for 2 boards, doing the one campaign and people can choose between the 2. I feel like if I'm going to go the Feather route, maybe I don't go the Pro S2 route. There's some advantages of the Pro S2, obviously. The first half of the board is Tiny Pico pin for pin compatible, so it'll work on some shields and stuff. It's also a much smaller board. Like a much smaller board than the Feather. Do I have a Feather nearby? I do, up here somewhere. And a Pro S2. Or when I say much, okay. I mean that's obviously not populated. Oops. How about if I put it in the middle? Like they're the 2 different boards, right? It's quite a bit smaller. It's got more I/O broken out. Oh, this whole. Come on. I should just put autofocus back on and get rid of manual focus. That's what I should do. Pop back out, pop back out. Right, so it's smaller, it's thinner, but it's also got more I/O broken out because I can only break out, like I need to keep this Feather compatible, which means I can only use the pins that a Feather uses. That's obviously not my board. That's a Feather M0, one of the basics. So and obviously my board's got USB-C on both. So I don't know what to do there. I'm kind of torn, but I can't do anything until I got silicon anyway. So that's a little bit frustrating. So the things that you can't talk about. It's not the project. So I've got an idea of a. It's a product I want to make that it's basically just a way of like it's something you stick in between your battery and any board that takes a JST connector, whether it's a microblade or whether it's a normal PH one, and it's basically just a switch, right? But you think, okay, a switch to turn the battery on and off, like a switch in the middle, is really easy. Well, it's actually not, because getting a switch, just a switch that can actually take the potential current that someone would pull from a battery is really hard. Like it's either you need to get a really massive chunky switch, like really big, and it won't be mountable necessarily onto the PCB, but Adafruit will likely think about one when a module will be available for them to put on the Feather board. Absolutely, and there will be a Room and a Rover coming out for the S2, but the Rover will be coming first, and the Room will be coming later. And so, yeah, So Adafruit generally stick a room on their boards like they did with the Huzzah. I don't know how quick Adafruit. I mean, I think they'll jump on it fairly quickly because they'll be able to get CircuitPython on it. But the jury's out who's going to want an S2 chip right now, because it's got some really nice features and fixes over the current ESP32, but it's also limited. There's no Bluetooth. It's single core, and so that's just a buzzkill for a lot of people. The whole single core thing. Well, the fact is 99% of people out there don't use 2 cores on their ESP32s, but they still don't like not having the 2 cores. The modules will not really be small enough. I don't think so. Let me get. No, not really. So, well, maybe that is the size of the module. It's currently too wide. Right, that is the actual module. Actually, I might actually have a module, like a non-shielded module. 1 second. Let me see if I can find one. I have one somewhere. Right, here it is. If I can get one out. Oh, come on, get out of the bag. Right, so this is a module. So, yeah, maybe. That's really tight. I think that could potentially be a problem. They might be able to squeeze it in, but it's pretty big. Let me get a room 32. Right, so that's a room 32. So is that just as wide? Yeah, it's just as wide, but it's also longer. So I don't have a Huzzah board here, but I would say the extra length is going to be a problem for them, because right now, like on their Huzzah, it kind of sits like this, right? I don't know if let me just see if the antenna goes off the end or not. I don't think it does. Huzzah 32, let's have a look. Okay, right, so see, it doesn't go off the end. It also covers up the holes, which is interesting. So if I go back to here, so if I stick that at the end, you can see how far it goes into the board, right? Now, if I was to stick this one on, like, I don't think, well, so it's interesting because on the current Huzzah, switch back again, on the current Huzzah, they've got space here because they need the CP21, what are they using, 2104, plus auto reset circuitry and stuff. That isn't needed anymore, right, because it's got built-in USB. So potentially they could squeeze it in, sure. They could, but it'd be a rover, right, not a room. So it'd be more expensive. So I guess they could, yes. And obviously Adafruit would want to use a module because they want it certified, right, where my board's not going to be certified. So, but I still reckon I can be first to market. And once they've done CircuitPython for their board, it works on any S2 board, right? Right, anyway, so let me just go back. So we were talking about the battery thing. So you'd think that making a battery like a switch is easy, but it's not. It's going to actually have to have some, it's going to have to be MOSFET based, and it's going to, potentially have to be a dual MOSFET high side switch and whatever. So anyway, I've been playing around with what the idea is, but I've been playing around Okay. This is the thing you need to, well, you need to be quiet about that because I'm not talking about that yet, but the extra thing is I've been playing with KiCad. My aim right now is to ideally do it in KiCad, or at worst do it in KiCad and do it in Eagle, because I need to be able to ship it. Like I want to finish it and get them made and get the product finished, and so I don't want to rely on me fumbling through KiCad to do that. So I might do it in both, but right now I'm, like I've used KiCad before. Like I'm not completely blind to it, but I've never finished a board in it. Never gone into production on a board through KiCad. So it's one thing to design a board and do a schematic, but going through the whole KiCad, whatever, KiCad we'll call it, but going through the whole, the Gerber export and making sure that, like everything I need is in the right Gerbers and stuff. Like when I do custom layout, like designs of boards and stuff, it's got to go into a particular Gerber file for JLC PCB. They want a GM1 file and stuff. So there's a lot of learning curve on that side of things. And there's obviously, I spend a lot of time doing custom. Someone said KitKat. KCAD. I do, most of my own custom footprints in Eagle and do lots of tweaking of footprints and tweaking of paste layers to alter the way for my stenciling and production and stuff. And so all of those things, it's not just a matter of putting stuff together in KiCad and laying it out on a board and getting Gerbers done. Like there's a lot of optimizations I do on my components that I'm going to have to not only redo in KiCad, I'm going to have to learn how to do them in KiCad. KFC. Oh, I could do a KitKat. Yum, I love KitKats. Anyway, so I'm not announcing this anywhere that I'm playing with KiCad because I'm not interested in the all the fanboys jumping on or whatever. Like I don't want to start the software wars, the flame wars. Oh, hello, Brian. Hi. The kid's in bed. Yeah, I don't want to start the flame wars, but I'm tinkering in KiCad. I got to say, so far, I still don't like it much. There's some really the thunder. Well done for bedtime. I really feel like there's some really ugly usability stuff in it, just at a basic level. Like I think that, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like the most obvious one for me, I got to say, like this is just frustrating. So when you go to add a component, right, and you click, whoop, took a while to load. It's over here, right? And okay, here's recently used. That's really great. So let's say I want to stick a switch, right? So I type in switch, yeah. And what I get are all of these different categories. Look at them all. So KiCad used to be, you don't pick a particular item. You just pick a generic something like if I want a single pole, single throw switch, I put that down and I worry about what the actual component is on the board side through the netlist, right? Look at all the stuff it gives me for switch. Mate, that is nuts, right? And what it doesn't let me do in any way is filter anything, unless I'm totally don't understand things, right? So, like, where is the ability to say, don't show me these things, like, only show me devices? Like, all I want is a device. Actually, no, in this case, I don't want a device. I think from memory, I found my switch under, where was it? Down here, I think it was. Single pole, single throw, SW, and it's under switch rather than device. But look at all the things it gives me, like, so how do I, single pole, single throw, okay, no, it still gives me all this analog stuff, like why? I guess these maybe are, but these are specific items. Like this is a particular product. Like, I thought the whole point of KiCad was that didn't happen. I did that. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not understanding how to get stuff easily from here. But I'm finding it. Like, I find Eagle sometimes really hard to find to search for stuff as well. But they seem to have now a mix of, here's a generic symbol and it doesn't matter what the part is, but also here's a bunch of parts, right? Like specific product parts, which means that there's just so much stuff in this list now. Anyway, I don't know, just me, I guess. Yeah, look, EasyEDA is perfectly good and perfectly fine, but if I'm gonna, for me, if I'm gonna move away, or if I'm gonna augment my Eagle stuff, it's not gonna be with EasyEDA. I'd be going, ultimately I'd like to do Altium, like actual Altium designer, not circuit designer, but I can't afford it. I can't justify it. So if I'm not going to do Altium, I'm going to do something that is more likely to get used as a contractor, right? It's not a bad, EasyEDA is not a bad CAD tool, let me tell you. It's really not. And people make great boards in it. Like, it's, at the end of the day, if you can make your PCB, you can make your PCB. For me, it's about being able to, like, I'm spending time this year trying to get contract work. I'm speaking to a couple of people at the moment, and like, I know one of them, they work in KiCad. The other one, they don't really care what I work in. And I know I can work in Eagle and you can bring it into KiCad, but if I don't know how to use KiCad properly, how do I vet the stuff coming into KiCad, right? So I feel like I need, like, if I'm going to be doing contract work, I need to be able to use as many of the tools that people use as possible. I don't want to lose opportunity to work on stuff because I'm working in Eagle, even though it should make no difference. I don't want to lose that opportunity, and so KiCad seems like the best thing. Although if I was going to get a proper job in this space in Australia, it needs to be Altium, but I can't afford it. It's crazy money, crazy money. Anyway, so I'm playing with KiCad, whatever. So I'm going to start putting this together. I only started yesterday. I got distracted with the Reflow Master Pro. So that's my secret bit of news, but don't tell anyone. As far as everyone's concerned, I'm an Eagle fanboy, and I am still. I can't see myself running out and doing my ECAD work inside Fusion 360, not yet anyway, not for a while. I had a look when it shipped, and yeah, not really my cup of tea. I like working standalone inside Eagle. So yeah. Trying to think if there's any other news. My Whopper kits have stalled, obviously, because the rest of my parts are in China and my PCBs are in China. So I've started, the stuff that I've started kitting up. So I've started, I did buy my, already, you might be able to see before, hopefully they won't fall off, 1 second. Here we go. So I've started prepping all of the displays in groups of 6. So I've got, I bought these ages ago. I've got a new set on order, but they're stuck. They're not shipping at the moment. So I've got enough for 10 kits of these displays. I've got enough. I've got 5 kits worth of the HT. What are they? 6. Whatever they're called again. LED drivers. I've got stacks of the RGB LEDs, stacks and stacks. But yeah, I've only got 4 PCBs at the moment here, and all 4 have got the spelling mistake on the back. But fine, like I'm happy. I'll even ship those for people that want them. And obviously I can laser cut and do whatever else I need. So technically I could finish and list 4 kits, but I don't want to do that until I know I'm going to get the rest of the stuff. And it's kind of stalled. Yours is stalled in Hong Kong. Oh, so they shipped to Hong Kong but haven't made it out of Hong Kong. Yeah, some pretty bad stuff in China right now. It's a shame. Like a lot of the stalling is obviously preventative stuff. Like they don't want people out there on public transport, and they don't want people mixing and having more chance of spreading this thing. So like I totally get it. Well, for ICs you don't really have a generic version of things, so you need each specific one. Yeah, I guess you're right. But like for me, it was more this like looking for a switch. Like I found that really hard, and like I couldn't find I know it doesn't make any sense. I couldn't find a symbol for a JST connector. Like I'm sure there's an external JST library, but why doesn't a JST library ship with KiCad? Like it's been around forever. It's Molex. Like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't find JST anything. I had to just stick just some 2-pin headers down, and I'm gonna have to swap them out with JST connectors on the board. But yeah, it just seems a bit weird. Can understand if my PCBs are not the top priority for people. Sure. Well, it's not even a top priority thing. It's just it's a nothing. Like people have been asked not to go to work. Yeah, the timing's really bad with Chinese New Year, which is an inconvenience anyway, right? Well, inconvenience for us, not for the Chinese, who they get time off and they get holidays, which is nice. I'm gonna get V2 of my nunchuck board. Yeah, like it's just everything's been slowed down. Like it's just, yeah. Meanwhile, I want to make more boards and like design more boards, and I've got stuff I'm working on right now, but I just don't want to put anything in production until I know what's happening. And I don't want to make anything new until, I mean, obviously things are going to get back to normal. This will get under control, and JLC will start making stuff again. I couldn't find a symbol for JST, which makes no sense to me. For any JST. I mean, they might be under connectors, but I like searching JST, nothing. Searching PH, nothing. SH, nothing. I mean, obviously things come up, but nothing to do with JST connectors. And I find that kind of strange because they're used for everywhere, like quick connectors, like not just 2-pin, but all sorts of pin. Any pin varying thing, couldn't find. Not with the default libraries that come installed with KiCad. And I installed the big one, like everything, not just the app. Look, and libraries are a pain in all packages. The same with Eagle. Like library management, it's getting better in Eagle, but it's very easy to make a mess of your libraries, and I've made a few messes of my own. Yeah, what else can I tell you? I still haven't designed the buttons though for this. That's the last thing I need to do. It's just the buttons. Haven't even gone into Fusion to do them yet. Just, I don't know. I've got no sense of urgency to do it because I can't finish the kit. It's really annoying. That's the generic thing you were talking about. You can put a generic 2-pin header in a schematic and then map it to footprint in the netlist. Right, and I know I can do that, but again, like it seems to now be it's not standardized. Like some things I have to do that for, and some things I don't have to do that for, and I don't know which ones are which yet because I don't know enough. Like, you know, I'm sure if I stick it out, I'm saying if I stick it out, eventually over months I'll be as good in KiCad as I am in Eagle, right? I know all the nuances, I know where everything is, I know what I'm looking for, and like, you know what I mean? It's just that whole, getting to that point, and especially getting to that point where right now I'm not really developing a lot of PCBs. I'm definitely not taking any of my existing like Tiny Pico or Pro S2 or the Feather S2 into KiCad to do them. Like they're staying in Eagle, right? All of my shields are staying in Eagle. So right now, anything I've already made, I'm not moving them to KiCad to work on them. Like they're done, they're staying in Eagle. It's any future boards. And right now I don't have a very big list of future boards, which means my opportunity to learn quickly is reduced. Based on what I said at the start of the stream, where I don't really learn from theory, Like sitting there and watching videos about how to use KiCad doesn't really help me a lot. I need to do it and use it to really get there and understand it. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm desperately wanting to build myself a really whopping nice RGB logo for my back wall for when I'm streaming. I bought all my acrylic. It's all sitting there. I've got strips of RGB LED waiting to go, and I can't seem to get motivated to build myself a nice logo for the back. It seems kind of frivolous. Yeah, I don't know. So, any questions or anything, any topics anyone want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Patreon at all? I feel like doing like the one video a week. So obviously I didn't do a video yesterday because we're doing the stream today. Doing the one video a week, I just feel like I feel like I could and should be doing more for you guys. I just don't know what that would be. I don't really work on a schedule where I could be releasing my videos early to Patreon members to see before I go live, and I'm not really sure if that is even like appealing at all. Like getting to see something a week before someone else. I don't know. Like doesn't sound appealing for me, and I just don't do my videos that way. Like because I'm, you know, I know because I'm not just focusing on the channel and making videos. I'll generally upload a video when I've finished it, and I'll normally finish it like the day I'm going to be releasing it, or maybe the night before I'm going to release it. So there's not really an opportunity to release early to let you guys see it early. But is there anything else that I can do on the channel? Not the channel. On Patreon? If there is, let me know. I've been sending almost a weekly diary to my GitHub sponsors. Okay. How are you finding working on that, Brian? Well, that's kind of what I do. Well, it's not a diary, like I'm doing the weekly video, but it's not really a recap of the week. It's more just a something or whatever. Early release just confuses me. I see the videos appear twice. Sure, yeah. I quite enjoy it, but it's time consuming. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do a diary of the week, because it's just going to remind me of how little I got done. Yeah. Or it's just going to make it very clear to me how much I procrastinated by going off on tangents and yeah. Like I've said that I don't do New Year's resolutions or anything like that, right? But like one of the things I'm trying to do this year is to just work when I'm inspired to work, and work on stuff that I'm inspired to work on, and not beat myself up on avoiding things that I'm not inspired. Like there's no point working on a project that I need to finish because I need to finish it, but I'm not inspired to do so, right? Like I tend to come back to projects and get them done, most of them, some of them, right? And I tend to do that when I'm inspired. And if I'm not inspired, I just don't feel like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to resent working on it. So I've given myself permission to work when I am inspired to work, and work on stuff that I'm inspired to work on, and not beat myself up. Let me just go into my photos for the week, add whatever looks interesting. See, I don't take a lot of photos. I forget. Like when I was doing my random bites, which I stopped doing because it really wasn't getting a lot of views, to be honest. And I also kind of, because all the tiny pico lead up and everything else, I found myself like I'd get to the end of the month and I hadn't really taken any photos or videos, right? So there was not a lot of motivation to keep doing the random bites, although they were kind of fun. They were fun to edit because I could look back and do some whatever stuff. But yeah, I don't remember to take videos. Like we're out somewhere, like, and Yaz will say to me, "Oh, can you take a photo of this?" Like I don't. Yeah, you know, Yaz will always photo, and me, like my phone's in my pocket, but it never occurs to me to pull it out and take a photo of anything. I just don't do that. I don't know. Bit weird. Have no expectation of regular updates. Don't do them just for the sake of doing them. Sure. Thanks, Graham. I think like some people, maybe some don't care or don't mind, and some maybe do. I don't know. I feel like I should be adding some type of value, I guess, to Patreon. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But if there's anything that anyone thinks of, suggest it on Patreon. Like, just post. Actually enjoy looking back at the updates. Cool. You seem to be much in a much better spirit about it, headspace, whatever, about it, maybe than me. I don't know. 2019 was rough. By the end of 2019 for me, like, as I mentioned, like in my Patreon videos and just in general, like I've mentioned, like it burnt me out. So like I've trying to go through a reset at the moment. Trying to feel like all of it's less of a chore, if that makes sense. I normally try to do them on Sunday mornings while the girls are having breakfast. Deb still is taking photos of everything. I try to live the moment a bit more. Sometimes I feel like I overcompensate a bit and end up with not as many photos. Well, I don't look through photos. Like, I don't look through... Just like I didn't look through my exercise books when I was taking notes at school. I don't look through photo albums, and I don't really... Like, Yaz will quite often go through her photo stream and reminisce. I don't do that, right? So, it's just... Yeah. It's not on my radar. Like, it's not really about trying to live the moment. I totally get what you're saying, Ben. Absolutely. But it's not, for me, it's not like it's not like I'm so focused in the moment and that's why I don't pull out a camera. It just doesn't occur to me. Like, it's, you know, if I'm ever taking photos, I'm taking them for Yaz. Like, if I'm out with the kids and Yaz isn't there and something happens, I'll take some photo or video, you know. If we go for ice cream or something and when the kids gets ice cream schmeared all over their face, whatever, I'll take a video or photo, right? But it's more so Yaz can experience it than for me to have a record of it. So didn't join the last MakerCast for similar reasons. Yeah, sure. I mean, why? Because you weren't motivated to do so? Graham doesn't support me to be a burden. Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. I would never take photos at a concert. You weren't feeling it, yeah. Well, I'm just letting you know now, Brian, I might not be able to join the... I was going to chat with you on Discord later. I might not be able to be on the MakerCast on Monday. I'm not going to know till tonight, but I might be unavailable Monday morning. So I'm going to post on Discord to see if anyone else wants to take my spot anyway. I don't want to leave you in the lurch at the last minute, so... But yeah, I'm not going to find out till today. There might be some school stuff I need to go do in the morning on Monday morning. Yeah. MakerCast is on Brian's channel on Monday. Feel free to post a link if you want to, Brian. Although there aren't many people online here, but yep. And no one's going to see this video outside of the patrons, so patrons. So are there any projects, out of curiosity, any projects that you'd like to see me work on this year? I mean, I'm always on the lookout for things to do. That doesn't mean that I'll ever get to them or actually do them. I mean, the things I really want to do at some level this year, obviously, is play around more with FPGAs and really understand how they like actually make something with an FPGA. That'd be really cool. Not necessarily, like, not a product or anything necessarily, but a project. Wow, that was a massive mozzie. Sorry about that clap. Sorry. There's a massive mosquito in here. And I'm allergic to mozzies. So if I get a bite, it's going to blow up. Oh well, he's gone down there. Sorry about that. So like FPGAs, the other thing, I've got some STM32s I want to play around with, but I don't know why, what I'm going to do with them. I seem to be really focused on ESP32s at the moment, but I wouldn't mind playing around with the SAMD51. The ARM, it's a Cortex M4, M4F I think, it's got a floating point. But again, I don't know what I'm going to do with one. You know, if I wasn't doing MicroPython on the Reflow Master Pro, I probably would have used a SAMD51 and kept it in Arduino, but just with a much more powerful microcontroller. But there's no point in moving my Reflowmaster, my regular one, away from the SAMD 21, the M0, because it works fine. Like the only thing I would gain on that would be like a faster screen update, but you know, it's kind of fast enough. You want to see me experiment with BGA this year? As in just put a BGA on a board, like use a BGA component instead of a non. How about an electric mosquito repellent project? Topical. Well, I'm pretty sure you can buy those already, can't you? I'm pretty sure we've got some in the house actually. I'm going to get bitten. I'm going to be a sad puppy later. Promise you. You watch, I'll get bitten right here. Have to go. It's been great. Much more relaxed than normal. Thanks, Graham. It has been much more relaxed. Feel relaxed. Yes. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. It was good not sitting here talking to myself. And thanks again for being a patron, Graham. And all of your supportive comments, even the smart arsey ones, I get a good laugh out of them. I really appreciate them, so thank you. So what do you mean by experiment with BGA, Ben? I mean, I can, you know, always stick a BGA chip on a board, but I'm not sure what that's... I want to do more collaboration stuff. Brian and I have been talking about some collab, but we haven't kind of nutted out what that's going to be. And James and I have spoken about doing a collab, but again, haven't really worked out what that is. I enjoyed doing my collaboration with Mr. Watts, but that was a while ago now. It's, you know, the problem is finding time. Like, when you do a collab with someone else, you both have to find the time. So, it's hard. Like, we've all got our own things that get in the way. I mean, Brian's got 2 little ones at the moment and works full time, and so, you know, struggles to find enough time just to work on his own things. And James is, I won't say you've bitten off more than you can chew for your CPU, because you haven't, because you're getting it done, but it's obviously a massive undertaking, and you've got stacks of other smaller projects you want to work on that have been waiting to the side to, you know, until the CPU stuff was further along. So yeah, I don't want to burden people with a collab, but I'm sure if we find the right thing, it would make it much easier to do. Yeah, so Brian can't guarantee the time. Just playing around with some BGA parts and get more familiar with them. So for me, BGA doesn't scare me. I've not found a project where there's been a BGA variant of a part that is any better for me, or that's been cost effective for me. The thing with BGA is it's about like, especially if it's a BGA that's got balls inside. It's not like it's a BGA with, you know, like a small enough package where it's only around the outside, where you can either visually inspect, like under a microscope or something. It's the ability to not be able to inspect a BGA component, you know, properly. Like, it's one thing to stick a BGA part on just a prototype board or something I'm playing around with, sure, but doing it on something that potentially goes into production, like I don't have the capabilities. Like, I don't have any form of X-raying or something else to be able to really check, you know, whether the balls have been, you know, soldered properly with. Yeah, that's my concern. Really selling the whole parenting thing. Well, too late for you, mate. You're almost about to be a dad. I told you your life's over once it happens. Like, there's some lots of positives, but everything you thought your life was is gone, totally gone. What about watch me build stuff videos for Patreon? Might end up being more of a distraction. What do you mean watch me build stuff? As in, like, just build videos? I don't mind. Like, I do build videos sometimes. It's been a while. I haven't had a board really to build, but I've done them on my channel before. They actually get, you know, people really enjoy them. Like, when I built my Pro S2 and my Nano, kind of put some music on and let people just sit and watch me assemble a board. But I don't have a lot of stuff to build. Like, you know, my general production building is really boring. It's just production. Like, I've built Reflowmasters before on streams and stuff. I don't really have any kits or anything I'm working on, like, as in to build for me, like stuff I bought, whatever. I'm not really inspired to build anything external right now. So yeah, like I don't know what that was. I don't know what that would be for a Patreon video. Like, yeah, like I've done some design stuff videos before, like for Patreon. It's kind of hard. Like some things I feel like I want to add more value. Like I want to do more stuff for my patrons, but I think those type of things that the whole community can benefit from. Brian's got a whole box full of people's kits. Yeah. Watch me work and play around with KiCad. See, I don't necessarily want to do that on a video. Like I'd do that on a stream, but I don't know if I'd want to do that on a video. Like to do that and then have to sit there and edit a video of me doing that, I think that would be... I don't want to do the LM 3-on-7 time trial. I saw Dustin's one. I don't want to... Yeah. That doesn't appeal to me at all, to be honest. Yeah, like if I'm going to make a video... Look, I don't feel compelled to make it a polished video if it's going to go on Patreon, but it still requires a level of editing, and it requires a level of thought while I'm working if I'm recording. Like, I don't want to do an hour-long session of doing something on video and then have to work out how I'm going to put that together in a video just to show patrons. And if I put it up as is, even a little bit of editing, and it ends up being 50 minutes, no one's going to watch it, right? So, well, I don't think they will. So, yeah, I feel like stuff like that. The same with coding. I don't really feel like they work well on a video. Unless it's a video reviewing a design or something, or reviewing design choices or something. Like I did a couple of weeks ago with the updated version of the Nano. I did that as a Patreon video, didn't I? I'm sure I did. When I did the two versions of the Nano with the castellated edges and with the pads on the bottom. But that's fine, because it was a review of those designs, right? And what decisions I made and why I made two of them. My dream is to get someone else to edit my videos. I'd probably take more videos. I'd probably do more videos more often if I had someone to edit them. Absolutely. Thanks, Pierre. Like I'd do more stuff like the UArt video if I had more people. Like that was like days of editing. Like that was, a day on and off of recording, and that was like almost 2 days of editing to get that down that short. If I was less worried about how long it went for, I could have edited it in less than a day, but it would have been a lot of waffling, a lot of people dropping out in the video because it was boring and slow. So, yeah, if I had someone to edit them, as Brian said, I think that would make a big difference, but I'm not even earning enough doing this to, pay my mortgage and put food on my kids' plate, let alone employ someone, even as a contractor or part-time, to edit my stuff. People dropped out of mine anyways. Yeah, a lot of people dropped out of mine. So, actually, I'll show you a data point. I'll show you the good and the bad of Hackaday. I've got to find that page. So, let me just... Studio.YouTube. I'm going to show you my analytics for my Whopper video. It's pretty funny. Sharing. Right, I'm not sharing. Here we go. So I don't mind you seeing this. Like, it's totally fine. Wouldn't you need to leave plenty of instructions for someone to edit for you? Maybe at the start, but they'd eventually learn. And like, if they're a good editor, then they should know how to turn long-winded stuff to not. Or you edit one together, you do the first couple together or something. So this is my Whopper analytics, right? And so it's had 5,100 views. And you can see that these two bumps. I don't know what the second one was. Honestly, I don't know what it was. This first one was Hackaday. Right? This should do better jobs than us hacks. I don't know. I used to edit kind of, not for a living. I used to edit professionally, right? But I don't, like, what I used to do for clients is very different what I do for myself. I do very bare minimal for me. I'm just not, I'm not motivated or inspired by editing anymore. I was back in the day, but not now. So I do the minimal possible. And I'm still, yeah, I guess a bit of a hack. So what I wanted to show you with this was, up until, let me see if I can, I don't think I can do it through this. Yeah, I can't. Oh, I can do custom, hang on. So I want to go just for the, from here to, that was 4 days. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I do that? Apply. Oh, that's not showing properly. Okay, what I wanted to point out, I'll put it back, it doesn't matter, was that for this first bit of my video, right, which wasn't doing very well, it was smack in the middle of my average, it was actually performing quite poor. My retention, my drop-off, was at about 65%. So it's a really quick drop-off here, as you can see. So it was, I think it got to, it was, so this is, look at this, by the 40-second mark, it's currently 42%. It was about 65%. But the second that Hackaday came in and gave me this massive bump, my drop-off within the first 40 seconds went down to 42%, or lower, 40% in the first 41 seconds, right? Which is really bad for the algorithm. Like really, really bad. Like YouTube see this and they don't support you at all. Well, kind of. So what's interesting now is in the last 48 hours, 15% of my views have come from suggested videos, which is quite interesting because that's a really high number for me, really, really high. But if I go back to like the last 50%, like there's only 2, whatever. Oh, this doesn't show me any earlier. I think if you look at all of it though, my suggested video percentage would be probably less than 1%. But 5,100 views, $5.78, right? And so this is because YouTube thinks the quality of my video is really poor because of my drop-off rate, right? Or what a lot of people are doing is they're accelerating to the end. You see this bump? So they're just fast forwarding to the end to see what the result was, right? They're not sticking around to watch the whole thing, right? So if I go to another video, the one I want to compare it to, if I go to my, what's a good example? Right, even my MicroPython made easier video. This might be a good example. Right, it's had only 3,000 views instead of 5,100, but it's made more money. Right, and that's because my drop-off was quite low. I mean, it obviously eventually drops off, but it was quite low at the start, which means YouTube says, okay, this is a better video because people are sticking around, and so I get higher ad earnings per video. So the fact that Hackaday took my, like they wrote up the video, worked against me. Like maybe my overall view numbers went up, but my earnings went down because the quality of my video dropped because people were clicking on it because of the Hackaday link and instantly deciding they weren't interested. They want to know what it was and they go, oh, no, forget it, and dropping out straight away and killing my ad revenue. So anyway, the point I wanted to make was, like, it's just really hit and miss with YouTube and making videos, and it doesn't give you a lot of enthusiasm to to try to come up with ideas to do for people. So my stats of this one, so I've had 1.4k views so far. It's charting really well, like it's number 1 out of 10, as I mentioned. It says 100% like, but it's not 100% right now. But there's no suggested videos at all suggested by YouTube. Oh, here we go. Well, in the last 60 minutes there was, unusually. But in the last 48 hours, so it's since it launched, suggested videos is lower than 2%. which really sucks. That means YouTube just aren't supporting it. So yeah, YouTube is just a really demoralizing. Really demoralizing, which, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to share that for those that are interested. I mean, I share stuff like this with like Brian all the time and with James, and you know, a few of us share information, YouTubers, with each other. But yeah, it's hard to be motivated enough about a project that you're prepared to take a project that might take you half a day to start and finish, and instead make it a project that takes 2 days to do, because you need to video it as you're going, and you need to not only slow yourself down, but you need to think about how you're videoing it and how you're delivering it to make sure that you're not boring people. And then you need to edit it and take that extra length stuff that you recorded, turn it into a video that people might find appealing, and then upload it, do all the metadata for it, spread it out on social media, which doesn't take forever, but it's still, you got to do it all, like your Reddits, your Facebooks, your Twitters and stuff, just to get a video out there that, you know, for a project that you were inspired to do, but you weren't inspired to make the video for it, right? And then that whole process takes the joy out of the project for $5, right? $5 from YouTube, and to make it take triple the time that it could have taken, or 5 times the time than it could have taken. Like, it's a really tough sell for me right now. You know, I was making way more videos last year, at the start of last year, but it's just, it's a futile game to play. Yeah, Jess has been monetized for about a month now. Hadn't realized how unpredictable revenues were going to be. I thought there'd be a clear trend. No, not at all. And there's so many factors, right? It's whether it's topical on a day, whether something bigger came out on that day that was drawing everyone's, you know, whatever was trending on the day, you know, like anyone that released a video on the day that this new virus got announced and there was videos everywhere on YouTube about it, like, would have just got destroyed, you know what I mean? Like, through no fault of their own. You know, that doesn't mean that they won't eventually get their views, maybe, but so with YouTube, it's all about the start. Like, your video's got to take off at the start. If it doesn't take off at the start, if it's a slow burner, you can make some money off it, sure. But if it takes off at the start, YouTube are going to give you the higher eCPMs, so you're going to get much more money for your views, right? And it's really hard to have a video take off these days, let alone when world news hits and something happens, right? Yeah, it's really unpredictable. And then there's so many other factors involved. Yeah, don't quit your day job, Pierre. Yeah, I was hoping way back at the start that YouTube would be a much more, like, I wasn't expecting to be able to live off YouTube yet. Like, I knew it was going to be like I expected it would be like a 3 or 4 year journey, right? And that at the 4-year mark, maybe I'd be able to live off it, but by the 2-year mark, I'd be earning a lot more than I'm earning right now. Like, I'm quite happy to show you how much I'm earning, or how much I've earned. Like, I've got no problems with that, and you might get shocked. So, lifetime on YouTube, I've estimated that I've earned $1,350. So admittedly, I wasn't monetized the whole time because I didn't start, like, I had to get past the 1,000 subs and whatever. But over a whole 2-year period, that's how much generated, estimated. That doesn't mean I got paid that, right? They show estimated, but realistically, it could have been $1,200. And I think that's Aussie dollars, yeah. This shows it to me in I think it's Aussie. I think it's Aussie, yes. I've got no real way of knowing. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. James's USD, well, maybe it doesn't tell me. Either way, whatever it is, like, the money comes in dribs and drabs from Google, right? So and it comes in under the same system as my lingering revenue from my games, right? You know, on the Google Play Store and stuff. There's not a lot of revenue there. I've got and other ad stuff coming through. So it all gets lumped together. It's very hard for me to go back, look through it all, and itemize how much money it all was. In the studio web, it's the currency you select. Where do I select that? In settings. Oh, okay, there you go. Look at that. First thing, currency US dollar. Okay, so that's US dollars still. Okay, so what does that work out to in US dollars? So USD $1,350 is 2,000 Australian dollars. But most likely it was about 1,800 bucks. 1,800 Australian dollars over 2 years. Like, so how many years is it going to take? Like I can't even, like, you know, that's not even 2 weeks wages, you know. Like, how many years is it going to take for me to be able to build this big enough? It's never going to happen, right? I didn't have it set up. Does it pay out automatically? Yeah, if you got it set up, it will. It does it every month. Yeah, so like overall, it's a bit demoralizing, you know. My pick and place warp speed video has done the most, 50,000 views, which is pretty insane. You know, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've only got 7 videos that are over 10,000 views, which is just really disappointing. And a lot of them are slow creepers, you know what I mean? Yeah, sad days. $60 US minimum payout builds up until then. Okay, I seem to have money coming out every week. Oh, sorry, every month. Like I think if I look at my last 28 days, yeah, it's over. So for the last 90 days, see, look at that difference. Look at that. So in the last 28 days, $90, right? Which should be 200. Well, we'll call it 90. We'll round it up, so it should be 270. Rounded up, but in the last 90 days, 352. So I've obviously done better on some videos in previous months because they must have taken off faster at the start. But you know, of my $1,300 and something dollars, $1,100 of it was in my last year. So at this particular growth, right, in 5 years' time, I might be making enough money to replace 2 months worth of income. Yeah. And I was never doing this specifically for the money. Like, I really wasn't. But I was expecting a supplemental income from it. Like, I was expecting lots of things like this and Patreon and making and selling things and stuff, and then doing eventually some contract work. All together is what I'm looking at doing. Like, I'm not trying to make YouTube my only income level, right? But I really expected something a bit better than this so far. I don't know. I feel like for the amount of effort I've put in, and maybe just my videos aren't good enough. I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but maybe they're not good enough. I don't know. For the amount of effort I've put in, the amount of videos I've released, and how reliable I've been, consistent I've been, I feel like I should be, you know, I should have been over 1 million views by now. Like, I haven't even hit 600,000 views yet. I'm close. Like, I feel like for what I've been releasing, I should have, you know, I've got too many videos that have got really low views. And maybe part of my problem is I stream too much. Like, maybe people see all my streams everywhere and the length of them, and so they get put off by the channel. I don't know. Yeah. Lots more ad spend in December. You think that's it? It could be possible. I don't know. Okay. Around the 2 to 3 a month. 2 to 3 of the month. They check if your balance up until the previous month is above a payment threshold. Now, Brian, you're not at 1 million either. You're almost there though. How much longer have you been running your channel than me? I can't remember. Is it a year or is it less? Is it 6 months? Yeah, I don't know how delayed the payout is. Like, I'm not really fussed. Like, I'm not relying on any of this money for anything. It comes in when it comes in. So you're a year ahead of me, right? Yeah, look, it's just I don't know. People Works describe my channel as full of live streams. People works describe my what? People works describe. Oh, people would describe your channel as full of live streams. Well, that mine as well. Like I've missed one live stream since I started doing my weekly live streams, and maybe that's maybe that's a part of the problem. I don't know. I mean, if my live streams, I can't filter. In here, I can look at live streams. I don't think I can filter views just on live streams. 17 views on this stream. Haha. I mean, my biggest live stream's only done just under 4,000 views, right? 3,000, you know, all the way down to, I'm sure I've got, just go the other way around. What was that? Oh, that was a mistake one. Right. Impromptu testing, what was this one? Oh, that's where I was testing my setup, like 179 views, whatever. Impromptu Neo 7 segment, or Neo X segment, 198 views, like, yeah. Oh, why is that set to limited? That's rubbish. Not that it's going to be monetized, whatever. So I leave monetization off at the start, and then I turn monetization on after. I don't want people watching ads during the stream, but once the stream's over, people watching a replay I turn ads on for. So they don't make any money. Like, so I was at my highest. Let me just go back. So this one here, if I look at the analytics, $1.63. And look at this one, and look at the drop off. Down to 16% within the first minute and a half. Right? And that's because this was picked up by, again, this is Hackaday. That's when Hackaday did an article about the Pico audio, and they put a link to my stream. It's 3.7k views, $1.63. You know? Really, like, I don't know, maybe I don't know if streaming is going against me or not. 1 million next month, fingers crossed. Yeah, you've had not many, but you've had a couple of runaway videos. You've got videos over 100k, don't you? I'm sure you do. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm getting to the point where, I'm just going to put this back to here. I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm making videos. Don't take this the wrong way. I'm making videos and I'm doing live streams because I said I would, and because my community expect them. And that sounds bad, right? Like, I'm not sure if my live streams or I enjoy my live streams, I do, and I enjoy getting to chat and the banter. It's the only real banter I get back and forth. It's like I'm totally isolated here, right? But that aside, like, I feel like from a YouTube point of view, from an actually making the content point of view, there's nothing in it. Like, there's no, you know, like, it's not really helping me sell stuff on Tindy. Maybe the Tiny Pico Journey stuff did. Maybe that helped the campaign. I'm sure it contributed. Although the number of boards that I did on the campaign and where they came from and stuff, like, I'm pretty sure that it was single figures of any of my community, any of my YouTube awareness that would have contributed to that campaign. And I appreciate that completely, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure that the number of them, like, a lot of it came from just people finding the project on Crowd Supply and all the coverage I got. So, yeah, I just don't know if there's any benefit for doing this stuff. 290k plus, so almost 100 each. Total views 54.2. Sure, James, and you should be happy with it. Definitely, especially how niche that your stuff is right now, right? I mean, sure, like, a niche compared to trending topics on YouTube, right? But yeah, like, maybe I'd have a completely different outlook on this if I had a full-time job, if I had a full-time income and this was my hobby, and this was my outlet, right? I'm 100% sure I'd have a very different outlook on this. But anyone that's doing this because they want to stop working full time, like I'm sure Brian, if he had the choice to just be a full-time maker, he'd take it in a heartbeat if it was sustainable, right? Or anyone that's just doing it full-time trying to make it sustainable, which is a pretty crazy thing to even try. And I only started because I was at the end of one journey. So I was at the start of a journey, so I did. I think it's pretty futile. I tried to teach my cat how to play Minecraft. She wasn't having it. Fall back on electronics. You could do some cat videos for sure. You could just do a video of your cat doing nothing, and you'll get more views than I get on my videos. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, I didn't want to make this a downer video. It's not a downer video. Like whatever. I mean, I don't really hide my thoughts on YouTube. Like it's really not a sustainable platform anymore. That's okay, and I know that, and I'm going to keep making content for it. It's not really just because people expect it. Like, you know, I do enjoy releasing a video and having it get out there, and especially if it does well. If it doesn't do well, my high, the endorphins, not the endorphins, the adrenaline rush I get, you know, of releasing a video crashes down really quickly. But anyway. Okay, you know what? I've been going for a while. Wow. Over 2 hours. I thought this was going to be 1 hour. I might actually pass 1 million in the next few days. I hope you do. Hey Brian, when are we doing your live stream for you're getting close to 12k subs. See, I'm putting you on the spot now. Oops, that could have been a surprise. Whoop, close my mouth. So I expected the stream to go for an hour. Going for a little bit longer, but I think I'm going to get back to working on my Reflow Master, and I got no real way of doing that on the stream, so I'm going to not do that on the stream and not even video it. But once I've got something working, like when my aim today is to, even if there's no board in there, to reflow and have it match the graph nicely as I can, right? And if I can get that working today, I will make a video of it and I'll put it up on the Patreon page, and then I will make maybe a proper video of it later. Yeah, I'll let my people call your people. Okay, I'm not sure who that is. Oh no, sorry James, I didn't mean to. Thank you. Thanks for coming on the stream. Thank you Ben for waking up early, I appreciate it. Brian, thank you for coming on. I know that your nights are busy and hectic. I think my best concurrent was 9. So I don't know who those people were. We definitely didn't have 9 people in the chat, I don't think. But thank you all. This was fun. I'm not sure it's something that really makes a lot of sense doing regularly, not with such low numbers of people, but that's okay. I'm glad I did it. It was fun. And I hope you all have a fantastic evening, except for you, Ben. Hope you have a good day. Might chat with you on Skype later. But thank you all. I really appreciate it. And I will, once again, don't have a close button. I don't understand how there's never an end stream button unless I refresh the page. Google, what are you doing? Yeah, I thought about doing it monthly, like one Friday. Thank you, Pierre, for joining. I thought about doing it like once a month, like a Friday every month. But I'm not sure that I don't know if there's enough stuff to talk about on a monthly basis. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. We can chat about it on Patreon over the next month. No, it's a big red button, but it's out of the way, but it's just never there unless I refresh the page. It's just really annoying. Anyway, whatever. Okay, catch you later. Bye.